You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com.
Welcome, everybody, to another Workshop Wednesday, which is all about casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you can learn QuickBooks your way. But we're actually not going to be talking too much about QuickBooks today, which is a left, what is it, curveball. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Because we have a new face that we want to introduce to everybody watching the workshop or listening to the workshop, is Josephine Johnson. Tell everyone, introduce yourself for those that don't know.
Yeah, I'm Josephine Johnson. I have a firm called Heritage Business Services, and I have niched in the software called Freshbooks. I also have a community of accountants called the Bookkeeping Side Hustle Community too. Some of y'all might know me from there, but I'm a real firm owner. I really work with clients, but I exclusively serve them if they are using the FreshBooks General Ledger. A little bit about me.
All right. And tying into between you and Rachel, you guys were actually roomies or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, and we're going to be roommates again.
Yep. In Orlando this summer, scaling.
Yeah. All right. Now, last week we had Matt Fulton on. He talked to us. He was playing the part of Rachel as the co-host that day because
I was in Florida.
You decided to go on vacation of all things. My goodness, how dare you? But we were talking last week about, is the grass greener, right? So like we unpacked and we talked a little bit about all of the things that Intuit and QuickBooks is doing to the accountant community at large. And some of these things might be triggering events for people to look for other alternatives. And so I wanted to have Kate on to talk about, you've already ventured into this grass being potentially greener, or in FreshBooks' case, bluer,
Sure.
because they don't work with green. But just talk a little bit about your journey. Did you start out with FreshBooks and go into QuickBooks, or did you start with QuickBooks and be like, my firms tend to have a specific client and this FreshBooks and QuickBooks kind of overlap? Talk a little bit about that experience for you.
Sure. I grew my firm slowly. I think I technically got my first client in like 2017, very slow as my kids were getting into like preschool a couple days a week. And I started with QuickBooks Online. It's an amazing software. You can make a great living being a great accounting professional on that software. So I did that. But there was a moment, it was my first accounting conference. It was the first scaling after COVID started, and it was like I had committed to going to an accounting conference, and so I just went to the one that was going to be available. And some conferences are more cautious than others, but scaling happened and I went. And it was an amazing pivotal moment for me as a business owner. But I had a moment there where I thought, I'm never going to be able to stand out in this crowd. Everyone, the amount of experience they had in the software, I was coming with zero. I didn't know the difference between Quicken and QuickBooks before I started. I took the Pro Advisor training and became a Pro Advisor, and all self-taught. I didn't work in a firm. I don't have an accounting degree. And I was like, I can't, I'm not going to be able to. So I wanted to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. It was the moment that I had. And so that began this journey of like, how do I do that? Are there other things that I can do? Because I'm never going to be the best go-to QuickBooks person. And I just knew that. And so I started looking at FreshBooks. Honestly, I don't think it was like, I don't have a moment of where I thought this is the software that I want, but probably it had something to do with the fact that their accountant support team was so good. are so dedicated to helping me. And so I'm guessing I had some troubles. I submitted some port tickets. They got me out of a jam, and I was like, okay, y'all are my people. And that's probably
really a big deal, though. That to me.
the support is amazing. So like I got my little shirt, they send me stuff, they sent me this. Like they're in like a hustle mode. They are really targeting accountants right now. The software is old. Their accountant channel is not very old. And so we get the royal treatment. We have the best support. We have I can't even, we can talk about support if we want to, but all we can now is it was amazing. And I wrestled with learning a new software. It stinks to learn software. All the desktop to QBO people are like, it's the same story. It's not fun at all. But those of you who like stuck it out, right? Who went over that hump and now are QuickBooks Online experts, you have an advantage over the people who like, I'm just going to stay on desktop. I don't want to do the hard thing of learning a new software. But I did the hard thing, and now I'm excellent at this one software.
And how would you say, for somebody who's maybe thinking about, okay, adding FreshBooks into my clientele software that I would support, what was your experience about learning it, and how much time should they give that kind of honeymoon period of I'm still learning this software?
I think it's not that hard to learn. I think the bigger mental block that people are gonna have is especially if they're coming from being true QuickBooks experts, which I'm guessing those are probably y'all's audience. Like you can do backflips in this software, right, guys? Like in QuickBooks Online. And you can do amazing things for companies' financials, and you won't be able to do those as amazing of things with FreshBooks. I actually confirmed this with FreshBooks today. I asked them, when did FreshBooks become a double entry software? And it was 2019. That's what the answer. I just got back today. So I really have all day been wanting to say this. If y'all remember, I don't know what year QBO came out, and people were mad and it wasn't as good. And now everyone who did take the plunge and change, it's pretty good, right? There's lots of desktop people who say, oh, desktop does a few things better, but QBO has shaped up. Well, FreshBooks started that, make that jump between, it's a software that is less old than QBO, and it didn't come with the history of the power that QuickBooks Desktop had. So that development capital that they had to build a new software, it's not coming with even anything like the parent software being even as good as QuickBooks Desktop was. So that's going to be the hard thing. It's limited.
What about one of the things that I really like about QuickBooks Online, and the reason that I use that exclusively, is its ability to sync with a lot of other outside apps. Does FreshBooks offer that, or not so much?
I would say don't switch to FreshBooks if that's what you need. It has an app store. So if you go and you're in an account, there's a button that says apps, and it has a lot of things listed. But what I have found is that in America, smart coders, they're going to build for QuickBooks Online first.
Okay. So
and
like,
then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, then they'll build for zero, and then they're gonna. What it feels like to me at this point, 2025, when we're recording this, is that there's almost like some intern who gets like the summer project of build an app, build an integration with FreshBooks, and so then FreshBooks puts it on their site, that app puts it on their site, but no one's babying it, no one's loving it, no one's doing what has to happen to keep it rich and robust and growing, that integration. There's really none that I even recommend clients use.
So you're doing all of the things in FreshBooks, and does it have the same sort of concept where you're entering the things into the software, and then the ultimate goal is to spit out financial statements?
Yeah, I would say that's a fine description. The bank connection is what's like bringing in a lot of that data. It brings in all the expenses. The ideal workflow is that like clients are creating invoices. Like it's really hard to do invoicing for clients, right? AR is hard to do. So it's beautiful. It's supposed to be easy. Let the clients do that. Then you're going to see deposits from the bank that you can match to certain invoices.
Wow.
FreshBooks
So
has payments.
Yeah, not that fundamentals are not wildly off from QBO.
And just put in the QR code for Kate's video where she unpacks and talks about the comparisons between QuickBooks Online versus FreshBooks. And my experience with FreshBooks was, obviously I worked at Intuit, so I had heard of this thing called FreshBooks, but I never really dove into it, no pun intended. But when I was at QB Connect or Intuit Connect last time, I was trying to find a solution for a client who had moved from enterprise to online. And someone had mentioned, hey, maybe look at FreshBooks to answer, to sync with QuickBooks. And to my surprise, there is this FreshBooks invoicing that synchronizes with QuickBooks Online. So I thought that's like really weird for FreshBooks and QuickBooks to be talking, because I thought they were essentially competing. What is that? Because I tried to set it up and it didn't work, so I of course abandoned it. So that's as far as I got with that. So,
I don't know if how that integration works now, but I'll tell you the reason why it exists is because from the early 2000s when FreshBooks started, it was just an invoicing software. It did not have financials behind it. It got a balance sheet in 2019, okay? And so where FreshBooks shines is on the invoicing side of things, billable time, marking up expenses and pushing them to invoices, tracking to like different, if you have a junior architect and a senior architect, they can track time at different cost rates and that would get pushed to an invoice, and lots of really robust invoicing features, because for years that's all it did. And so then they're just slapping on the double entry part like after that, but its invoicing is still the most robust. And so I actually, so it's interesting that you've said it doesn't sync to QuickBooks anymore. I guess
no, it does. It does, and it would. It didn't work for the solution that I was trying to find.
Okay.
Yeah, he said it didn't work for him, so he abandoned it.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
It worked. I mean, it would have worked, but it didn't solve the problem that I was struggling to find out with what QuickBooks invoicing didn't do, that potentially what I was hoping that FreshBooks would do.
There are still people who use FreshBooks just for invoicing. It's a cheap, I don't know, $30. Like there's different levels, but and you just want to make an invoice. It has a prettier look to it, I think, that creatives are into. I don't know. Lots of white space, which drives me crazy. I want lots of tight lines, but yeah.
What would you say would be like the ideal client that should maybe start with FreshBooks as opposed to going into the QuickBooks realm, or what have you seen?
So I knew that you were going to ask that.
Yeah.
And so freshbooks.com actually has a pretty good list. So I'm just going to read it. Marketing and agencies, creatives, construction and trades, consulting, IT and technology, legal, and then it says business and professional services. I'm going to make some caveats. Legal does not mean trust accounting, but if it's like a consultant lawyer, it's fine, but not trust accounting. And then for construction and trades, not like new builds, nothing that's heavy on the balance sheet. That's where the balance sheet is like the weaker part right now. But yeah, freshbooks.com, click the small business button, and that list is pretty good. I don't find it to be disingenuous. They're not putting things on the list. There's no e-commerce, for instance, mentioned. And you shouldn't use it if you're an e-commerce person, because e-commerce people don't send invoices. They send like sales receipts at the point of sale, right? So
so it seems like service.
A lot of integrations, though. I'm looking at it right now. It syncs with Gusto and Zapier and HubSpot and all this cool stuff.
Thumbs down for those that are listening.
Not so much. Okay, never mind.
Explain the thumbs down, Kate.
I don't know, just like what I said before. It's just they're not thoughtful. They're not thoughtful integrations. I find
or the honorable mention, the participation trophy of integrations. That's what they are.
Yeah, there's I actually the Gusto one is one that they've been pretty proud of, and I tell people don't turn on the integration. It causes more harm than it does good.
Hmm.
It seems like FreshBooks is pretty well geared towards the service-based industry,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yep.
if you sell stuff, FreshBooks is probably not for you,
Mhm. Yep. Thumbs down. If you sell stuff.
even though their marketing says you can sell. There's inventory tracking or those
It does
features
say that?
exist.
Yeah, I hate that it says that. There's a button technically in FreshBooks that is a button for inventory, but it is not. It doesn't go to the balance sheet. It's not like a true accountant's definition of what inventory means.
Hmm.
It might help someone track their units, but I work with clients all day long, and I work with a lot of clients because I do a lot of training. So I have a high volume of lower of clients who pay me less, right? I work with lots of hourly training people, and I don't know in I don't work there's no success story. There's no use case that I've had where I'm telling someone to use the inventory button.
Gotcha.
Hundreds. I've seen hundreds of FreshBooks files
Yeah.
instead of a smaller number of monthly recurring clients like most firms do. I've seen hundreds of FreshBooks files, and no one uses the inventory button.
And she has a really cool model too, where you'll have FreshBooks like business owners come in and you'll mentor them like in a big group and
Mhm.
have office hours. And
Yep.
it's just so cool because she was explaining that to me one time and it's really different. And I really like that. When you said that you felt like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing this. I don't really want to reinvent the wheel. I want to stand out and do something different. And I'm really motivated by that too. That's why I really wanted to focus on the inventory space because not a lot of people did. So I just thought, oh, well, I guess I will. and so but it seems like that this has been really great for you, and you're known as the FreshBooks gal.
Yeah, so there's no one else doing it. All my marketing is inbound because I create tutorials on YouTube about FreshBooks. If you watch them, you will not be impressed by the looks, but you will be impressed by the brains, okay?
Content. Yeah.
The bar is so low, people. It's because there's no competition. I just get to explain my thoughts, and they're good thoughts. And so that's what people are drawn to. And
Yeah.
literally all of my prospective client intake forms, how did you hear about me? It says YouTube. And
Yeah.
I am inviting all accountants, come to the FreshBooks world because y'all will make me better if there are more people who are willing to just say, hey, I'm going to be a little funky. I'm ready for a change. I am willing to do what it takes to learn something new, because if you do, you will have no shortage of clients because we don't need a lot, right? Like we can make a great living with a small portfolio of clients or a medium-sized portfolio of clients. And
Yeah.
the countless numbers of FreshBooks users. So you just need the tiniest slice of people to help. And that's how I think of it. I am I have more than enough. The pie is still really big, y'all. So come on over if you want to do this, because then we'll all get smarter together. Right now, it's just me laying in bed thinking of these. I lay in bed and I think of these hacks, like the really good QBO people, and you get so excited when you learn from them because you're like, oh, they figured out this thing. And that's what I do. I figure out this thing, but I wish more people were helping me figure things out.
Yeah. It's so satisfying to do that. But what I was going to say is I'm telling you, all I do is fix now more lately than not is inventory in QBO. I fix that. But there's so many points of entry where business owners can just create problems and cause errors in QBO. And I think that a lot of times it's just too complex for maybe somebody without any bookkeeping training or accounting training. So there is an argument to use something a little more simple and less opportunity to goof things up. So there's FreshBooks, I would think, would be great for that.
Yeah, another way I describe it is FreshBooks' ideal customer is my ideal client. I am not looking to take on a heavy lift of an accounting like problems. Okay, so and maybe that's like a low confidence thing. I don't know, but I'm not an accounting major. I had 2 accounting classes like in the early 2000s. Okay, I have an MBA, but I think my skills are such that I'm able to help, like the group office hours. I like helping the little guys, and so that's a really scalable thing where I show up to my weekly meetings, and my group members come and they get to ask on average about 1 to 2 questions a week, but that's what they can afford right now, and I'm a hero to them. And I love it. I like teaching, and that's my style, rather than some of y'all who are like really varsity accountants. Like, you're probably going to be let down because you can't do a lot of varsity accounting in FreshBooks yet as of
Yeah.
2025. But I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be doing
Right.
that. So that's why it's
You-
a good match for me.
Do you find, Kate, that you have a client and they already have the solution, or do you like, I need a solution, and you would say, okay, well, QuickBooks is probably better for you, or FreshBooks would be better for you? How are they normally coming to you? Is it mostly because they find you on YouTube and then say, I need someone to help me?
Yep.
So they already have FreshBooks?
Almost always. I do talk to people who made a bad choice and have to move to a different software. I've gotten better. My intake form is better about trying not to talk to those people because I do have like a free 15-minute intake situation, and I would have more people booking those than I want. So I have to be careful, but I've gotten better. If someone shouldn't be, I only talk to you if you use FreshBooks. But the truth is, people aren't finding me before the purchase. I'm not trying to help get them to find me before the purchase. So I guess I shouldn't say never, but almost never is someone coming and saying, I'm just starting a business. What bookkeeping software do I use? They're usually a little bit in it. Obviously, if they call me sooner, it's a better. I can help them for cheaper if they call me sooner than if they build up years of problems. But that's the same with any software, right? So.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat here. Let me just bring it up here. Do you have an affiliate program link? And then there's also this other one about, if I want to move QBO clients to FreshBooks, how is that migration experience?
Let me answer the affiliate program link. I don't know what I don't sell anything that's like that. So no, for me, if you're asking, FreshBooks has an affiliate program. So I do make a few $100 a month because some of my there's enough of my YouTube videos, like the one that you shared, the comparison, the QBO to FreshBooks comparison, that's geared towards business owners, not towards accountants. And that leads to some clicks for people to subscribe to FreshBooks. But I've just decided I don't really want to try to shill that like too much. So I'm not really working on that. So that's the only like a FreshBooks kind of related affiliate program. The question about migration, how to move QBO clients to FreshBooks. So certified FreshBooks partners, which is about 3 hours training to get online,
So
on-demand
very
training.
similar to the QBO
Yes.
Pro Advisor program training.
As of now, we have a perk of like free migrations. I would say that's probably not going to always be around. But then I also say, you've seen bad desktop to QBO conversions. Like I wouldn't try to convert someone until you've learned FreshBooks a little bit. Get a couple of clients who are new, who are a little junior. Maybe, I don't know, you can work with me to help you get some basics before you do the migration, because otherwise there's enough differences between QBO and FreshBooks that you could really screw that up. And what I have decided, it's been a journey, but I basically don't do any pure migrations where I just send it over to FreshBooks and say, migrate, please. I look at the QBO file, and typically what I'm migrating are client lists, invoices, invoice payments, and that's about it. And then I use the bank data, and then I can bulk reclassify like all the expenses, but it's important to me that the bank is the source of truth of the history of the company. And so I do like a laser focused migration, but it's taken me a long time to feel comfortable leading that and doing that and requesting what I want from the migration team.
Right. Is there like a side, like not necessarily a side-by-side comparison, but is there like an article that says this will come over as this to this, and QuickBooks will come over to FreshBooks as this, or your invoices and payments? Or is it more of almost like a SASAN where I'm taking the chart of accounts, putting that in, and then layering on top of the data? Or is it you just send it to them and they hopefully will.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there's a service, and business owners pay for the same migration. We just get it for free. But that's
Mm,
like they have like a migration team, and I mostly just stay out of it. And then I also feel usually pretty sad for the clients who come to me saying, like, I paid for the migration, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but it was garbage in, garbage out. Like I can't really help this file too. It's still as messy as it was in your QBO.
exactly.
And I guess I don't have an exact answer. I haven't seen an article. There probably is one, but I am just so tied to my accountant people at FreshBooks that like I don't even read. Like I go straight to them when I have a question. I'm like, what's the story here? They have a monthly Q&A that I never miss. I never miss, and you could submit your own questions, and I wish more people would come to those things. But the support, I just go to my humans, not the
Yeah.
online article.
Oh,
And
that's really
that sounds
great.
like completely reversed.
Yeah.
That's like completely reversed from the QuickBooks world.
Yeah, we
They're
try and
doing
avoid support at all costs.
and they're doing everything they can to not talk to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Here it is. FreshBooks is a little bit more on the other side of that.
Well,
Please talk to us.
yeah, and let's be honest, should they succeed, it's not always going to be this way. Hopefully I'll be retired, maybe having sold the firm. But there's this funness, y'all, of just being going against the grain. I like that I get to have it's like the second Wednesday, I think, of the month. It's on my calendar. I don't miss. I love those people. There's one in particular. If I ever meet him in person, he knows that I'm going to jump into his arms and cry. I have told him that, and he's probably thinking, "Okay, crazy redhead," but that's like what he has meant to me. Is I literally think if I lay eyes on him and can touch him, I will burst into tears.
But you know what that you're doing is that like somebody like Dan, he was, I don't know, at Intuit for what, 20 years. Now he has built this whole cottage industry of training and teaching and supporting people in QuickBooks, and has a school of bookkeeping and like real live answers where you could ask him anything, and he'll support you in the background. So you don't ever have to contact support. Like you'll probably get to that point where that's what you'll be for FreshBooks, because eventually they'll get big enough that their support will completely go downhill.
Yeah.
I think what Kate's wanting is other people instead of. Kate's not scalable. She needs another face in the crowd to be able to do that.
And what I really need is like smarter accountants. I have to think so hard, and I'm successful. I have plenty of credentials, but at the end of the day, the true accounting nerd, I am not. And if someone could have my enthusiasm coupled with this really intense accounting brain, they would blow me out of the water. Okay, and that there's still room for that. I am going to say I do tutor accountants, so if you need a meeting with me, I will support accountants now. I also am trying to build a community. In the chat, there was like a Facebook group is where I'm trying to do it, but I'll do it anywhere. I just want the community to start getting built. And yes, I will sell a FreshBooks course one day. And yes, I will do all those things. That's part of the plan. But it sure is fun. It's been fun doing it.
They should put you on their website.
I think they've got me on there a couple times. I think it's best if I'm still able to be really unbiased and be my own person, so I can say things like the App Store is not great. The App Store is done by the intern. Because I want to be able to be honest. I don't want to oversell.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think a lot of people can appreciate, is having that objective viewpoint, right? And that's what I really appreciated about your comparison video, is that you just went through the different things that both do and gave your grade as opposed to whoever was writing the article's grade, which might have a vested interest in one way or the other, right?
Yeah, the best way to think about it, though, y'all, is just, again, I said 2019 is when they became a GL. Put your QuickBooks hat on and ask QuickBooks, find out whenever QBO launched, and then just shift the timeline, and that's where it's going to be. And if you can handle that, then you can make a great living, because there's people who need help. There are small businesses who are wanting something
Yeah.
different. And
if your specialty is professional services, service-based businesses, it makes sense to easily go into that as an arm of your business, because you're essentially doing very similar workflows. It's just how, right? And you don't want to say to somebody who came in from freshman, oh, I'm going to have to get you over to QBO because that's the only thing I know how to do.
Yeah. Plus, it's really nice kind of working with DIYers and hand holding. And I'm not good at that, by the way. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm like kind of person that's just let me do it. But I know that Kate and people like Kate are really good at working with folks like that. And it's cool because, like I said, I've heard her coaching and interacting with her community, and she's really good at it.
I think that it's real. There's this moment of freedom whenever you realize what your strengths are and start working within your strengths. And I get excited. Like, my group weekly coaching is my favorite hour of the week. And like, that is so cool to have a business where like I have that feeling.
Yeah.
So
you just need more of those hours so that you can fill that joy more than just 1 hour.
And there's also like a little bit of freedom in knowing that you can't do it all, right? Like, you don't know it all, you can't do it all. Let's just stay in our lane and enjoy the things that we can do.
There's definitely plenty of room to fishing from an ocean, I think or co-opetition. I think that's the term that I really like, is that working together, but also in the same lane. Is there anything, Kate, that, for somebody who's potentially thinking about dipping their toes into the FreshBook waters, that they should be mindful of, or buyer beware type of things? Like, don't, other than if they carry inventory, would be like, no, don't even bother with that. Is there any workflows or feature set that you would steer people away from, just not even bothering with FreshBooks?
Yeah, and the training I did for accountants in January, it's called Should You Convert Your Clients to FreshBooks in 2025, which is available for people to watch. I have a slide that says clients you should not put on FreshBooks. So I said e-commerce, real estate investors, people. I wrote lots of partners, but then in parentheses I wrote basically anyone who needs a robust balance sheet. Once you start really getting into some funky equity stuff, that's going to be taxing on FreshBooks. I wrote that, inventory, complex sales tax. So even if they're not, sometimes you get those clients that they're not really like a retailer, but they still have like sales tax issues. The sales tax module in FreshBooks gives me heartburn. It really does. Like, it's just, there's just something about it. I think sales tax is hard always, like no matter what the software, but I would love for a really smart accountant to come in and get into the sales tax and be better at it than me, but it's hard for me. And then another one I wrote was people with a lot of expense refunds, because there's a project tracking feature and there's like a weakness in the code about whenever you want to return something that was from a project. So that's my list of people who shouldn't go on FreshBooks.
Well, great. You have some links that we put in the comments for ways to connect with Kate. We really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully this was a half an hour of joy.
Yes.
In your
No, this is good. This is really good too.
in the hierarchy of Kate's week, her normal group session and then the workshops right underneath.
Yes, exactly. Anytime. I'll come on anytime.
We really appreciate you joining us, Kate. It was really great to get to know you even better. Hopefully those that are tuning in or listening later will reach out and find out more information about you, and maybe join you in the FreshBooks pool of water.
Yeah, if y'all have a client, I'm having an accounting session on March 13th for a session for accountants on March 13th. If anyone's watching this soon and you want to know about that, it's just the nitty gritty. Come ask me your questions, similar to what I do with the DIYers, but I can talk different to an accounting crowd. So I'm trying to keep my accountants and my small business owners separate because I can use different language. So,
Awesome.
all right.
So we will see you all next week on the Workshop Wednesday. We really appreciate you joining us this week, and have a great week.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of Workshop Wednesday, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and took away some valuable tips and strategies to enhance your bookkeeping practice. Remember, if you want to stay ahead in the world of bookkeeping and accounting, be sure to visit Schoolofbookkeeping.com. With a wide range of courses, resources, and expert guidance, you'll find everything you need to sharpen your skills and boost your career. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content every week. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us on social media or send us an email at support@schoolofbookkeeping.com. We love hearing from our listeners and are always looking for new ideas to explore. Thanks for tuning in to Workshop Wednesday. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep excelling in your bookkeeping journey. I'm Dan DeLong, and we'll see you next week.